This exercise is going to cover the security features of Excel using the three main levels of worksheet security. We'll first start off with file level. I've set up a password for this yearly expenses file. And how can you tell? When I go to the File tab on the ribbon and choose Info, you'll see under the Permissions area, a password is required to open this workbook. When I close this file and come back in to open it, let's say under Recent, it will ask me for my password. Good thing I'm remembering it. And once I've typed in the password, my file gets open. But you'll say, well, how did I create that password to start off with? Firstly, I had to open up the file. And remember, this was before I even set up a password upon opening. Then I went to the File tab, Info, and clicked on the down arrow for Protect Workbook. I chose and now do choose Encrypt with Password, and you can see a password here is listed. I could choose to change the password if I want at this point. Caution, if you lose or forget the password, it can't be recovered. So make sure you tuck safe somewhere your passwords so that you can easily pull them up, because once you lose them, you can't recover. And open up the file. I click OK. It asks me to re-enter the password, and once I've done that, it's reminding me that a password is required to open up this workbook. When I click on the down arrow further here, you'll note that it says Protect Current Sheet. When I go back to the Home tab, I'm going to remind you that Sheet 1 is the sheet that's in view right now. So back to the File tab, working with the second level of security, I'm going to choose to protect the current sheet, which is Sheet 1. When I do that, you'll see that it takes me to the Protect Sheet dialog box, and it asks me for a password to unprotect. It doesn't say password to protect, it says password to unprotect. And you'll see why in just a few minutes, why it means unprotect here. I'll type in a password, re-enter it, and once I do that, you'll see that the ribbon is now only offering up a few commands instead of all of the commands that it listed before, especially when it comes to formatting. When you go back into your spreadsheet and try to type something, you'll also see that when I try to type, a dialog box comes up saying, the change is protected, therefore read only. Could be good news, could be bad news. But the point is, Sheet 1 is fully protected. Does not matter what cell I go to right now, it's going to give me that prompt saying it's protected. This entire spreadsheet's protected, therefore all of the cells are. Suppose you want the user, including yourself, to have access to at least some of the formats. You're not going to be able to add data, but you maybe want to format. First, we need to unprotect the spreadsheet in order to give it some permissions to do so, to format. When I return to the File tab and go to the Info area and go to Protect Sheet, I'm going to click on Protect Current Sheet, and it's asking me for the password to unprotect sheet. So I'm going to type in that password, and when I do, you can see my ribbon is fully accessible here, especially focusing in on the Formats area. I can also choose to protect my sheet another way. Instead of going to the File tab, I can right-click on the sheet that I want to affect, choose Protect Sheet, and when I do so, Protect Sheet comes up. Here I'm going to pause before I type in a password. Under Allow All Users of this worksheet to, you'll notice that there are some checkboxes that are not checked off. In this case, most of them aren't. Whatever I'm going to check off here is going to allow the user to be able to perform those actions, even without unprotecting. When I type in test, and then I type in test again as my password, you'll see how the ribbon's offering up under the Home tab my formats, for example, for my font and alignment and number. But should I try to type, it's not going to allow me to do so. But at least I can, let's say, shade or I can use some of my other formats if I like. If I want to unprotect to have full access to the spreadsheet again, I right-click on that sheet tab yet again, and this time you'll see Unprotect Sheet comes up. I have to remember the password, and when I type it in, then I totally have full access to the spreadsheet. One last way to get into Protect Sheet, instead of choosing File tab or right-clicking on the Sheet tab, I'm going to give you a third option, which happens to be my favorite. On the Home tab of the ribbon, in the Cells group, the Format command offers up a whole wealth of commands. Protect Sheet is the choice here that we're going to work with, but I use it so often that I add it to the Quick Access toolbar by right-clicking on it, and then you could see Protect Sheet is here up on the Quick Access toolbar. So that's yet another way to get into Protect Sheet. So we know how to protect our file from others from opening it by setting up a password. So that's our file level of security. I just showed you how you could protect your sheet. Now it's time to talk about cells. You know we've got full access to the spreadsheet right now because I do not have Protect Sheet on. But when I chose Protect Sheet, it seemed like all of the cells were protected. And indeed, it was so. But what if you only want a handful of cells to protect? In this example, we've got a template here that we actually want to protect some of the cells, in that we don't want the user to be able to delete our formulas or any of our headings. We want to only have full access to our cells B2 to M5 because that's where we're going to type in our numbers. By default, all cells are locked, so that when we protect the spreadsheet, any of the cells that are locked will therefore be protected. If we want to have some cells not to be protected, we have to think the opposite way. We need to unlock those cells first. Lock equals protect, excuse me, unlock equals unprotect. I'm going to highlight the cells that we want to have unprotected on the end, so therefore we need to unlock them first. Returning to the Format command here in the Cells group off of the Home tab on our ribbon, I'm going to have us look at Lock Cell. We're going to use it so often, I'll add it to the Quick Access toolbar. And you can see how the command here for lock has been pressed in. So there's like a yellow halo effect around it, indicating that these cells are locked. Indeed, I'm just going to slip over here to another cell and another, and watch as I'm clicking up here in this portion of the screen, in that all of the cells are actually locked. So, once again, highlighting this portion of my spreadsheet, B2, down to M5, I'm going to unlock these cells. And once I click on it, you see no longer is that command pressed in. When I now protect my spreadsheet, type in a password, let's say, like test. Maybe I don't even want the users to even format. I click OK, re-enter the password, and once I do that, I will not be able to type anything in and where my formulas are, but I certainly can add a number. So our last level of security was all about cell protection. And you must remember that all cells are locked by default. So if you want some cells accessible after you do your Protect Sheet, you must unlock those cells first. And then when you protect, unlocked cells will be unprotected.